Ladies and gentlemen, the title of this session is If It Doesn't Fit. Ladies and gentlemen, I wear a size 12. And if I'm talking to you in this session and it doesn't fit you, because I'm not talking about everyone. There are good people, bad people, and there are people who are not doing one darn thing to improve what's going on in your community, in your school system, and it's helping your children. I'm bringing this session because we are just a few days, in fact, in my hometown, we're 4 days out from school starting for another session. And a lot of the things that we was confronted with in the previous school year, we are confronted with now. Oh yes, we have changed leadership. We have went from a female superintendent to a black male superintendent. But ladies and gentlemen, as I look at what's going on, I don't see a whole lot that's changed. And so that's why I'm bringing you this, because someone must address the issues. If your husband, your boyfriend, your significant other, your pastor, your leader in your organization or your sorority, your fraternity, your civil rights organization, if your male in your life, Uncle Bubba, whoever you look up to, is not willing to stand up and tell the unadulterated truth about what the hell is going on in public education that is hurting our children, then I guess it's me. So why not me? So I'm coming to you because I'm bold enough. I'm not looking for a job. No one can take my job. The state attorney general is leaving office today, and his plan was to bring Meriwether, because he made it perfectly clear. He wanted to bring Meriwether into his courtroom in shackles and handcuffs. And I told him over 15 years ago that hell would freeze over before I would be brought into his home, into his courtroom. And our Attorney General is retiring today, thank God. And so I don't have to worry about that. I'm not planning on going to jail or doing something wrong. I'm not on drugs, so you won't be able to get me on that. I'm not an alcoholic, so you won't be able to get me on that. And I'm not asking anybody, including our new superintendent, for a job, because it appears to me that before I can get a job in the school system, that someone's going to have to step forward. And it appears that the good old boys got the ear of our superintendent and is saying, no, not Meriwether. Meriwether is saving us from getting our children into not having to attend school with people who look like you, Mr. Superintendent. And he is exposing that we perhaps are not spending the money on buildings that was appropriated for, and that could get us into criminal charges. And if we let Meriwether in our system and you begin to listen to him, then we'll have to hire more African Americans or black school teachers. And right now we're hiring Megan and all of our friends and daughters and nephews and so on. And we're not that interested in your people. So if we let Meriwether in, they may talk to him because they know he cares about what's going on in the system, and he's intelligent enough to understand and decipher what's going on. And the best thing that we can do is that, as we did with the previous superintendent, we was able to get her to take him off of the sub list. He's not looking for a job, and he really doesn't need the $62.50. He just like being around children and making sure he can motivate them and give them hope. And if we let him back in, he'll motivate some children and he'll give them some hope, and they'll want to compete with our sons and our daughters. And so we got her not to put him to take him off of the substitute list. And if you'll not put him back on the substitute list, then we can keep him out of the system. And then hopefully, don't many of your people even come together to even discuss it. In fact, Meriwether and Baxter and Sheila Godwin are the only really blacks who go to board meetings and ask questions and stand up and be bold enough to talk back to us. And things are going real good in our community. And so we don't want Meriwether nowhere near any school in this system. He's too intelligent, and he know what's going on. He got experience, he's got skills, and we just frankly don't need him. And so we would appreciate if you too, Mr. Superintendent, would keep him out of the school system. And we made allowances for all of the other blacks in the community who have helped us, and we'll do what we can to try to help you too if you'll just keep that Meriwether and that James Baxter away from our system. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I'm going to get into talking about some things that are happening in my hometown. As I normally say, if it's happening in my hometown, it's happening in your hometown. If I happen to step on some toes, I'll go to Payless and get you some shoes, so don't worry about it. But again, if the shoe doesn't fit everything that I'm going to say in this session, and I'm not talking to you, and it doesn't fit, and you can't see where you can wear it, then I'm not talking to you. But it's going to be a whole lot of you, black and white, who are going to be able to wear the shoes because it fits. So stay with me. I'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, before I go any further, I want to, in our local Sunday paper, Mr. James E. Cherry, who is the now president of the Black Chamber of Commerce in my hometown, as well as an author and a businessman in my community. I read an article that he put in the Sunday's paper, and I just want to read just a few excerpts from that. And it reads, and I'm quoting, "Integration did away with the spirit of the community." Now, keep in mind that we was all for integration. But then the good old boy was able to sit down and turn the tide on us because in this article, integration did away with the spirit of community. Black America integrated into white America, but white America never reciprocated. Oh, we think that is because some of the black ministers are inviting us to come and preach at their church one time a year and come and hold hands with us as we pray for our communities, the coming together of our people. And then as soon as they say amen, they get in their cars and they go north, and we get in our cars and we go east. That does not make any sense whatsoever. But ladies and gentlemen, let me keep on with this article. Most communities are built around schools. Did you hear that? Most communities are built around schools. That is very true. We had just recently Mary High School that was closed, or JCM that was closed. The black community, East Jackson community, was built around that school. Wherever in my community, in your community, that there's a school building, communities build around those schools because that's where the concept of neighborhood schools come from, because schools are built around the neighborhoods, are built around schools. So some of us in my community who looks like me may not be astute enough and smart enough and intelligent enough to figure it out, but the good old boys are not no more intelligent than us. They are more clever, and so therefore they're able to maneuver and talk to a few of us and align a few of us with a few dollars, and we'll turn on our mother. Some of us will do that. Again, think about what I'm saying, if the shoe doesn't fit. So don't get upset and say Meriwether's insulting me. If the shoe doesn't fit, you remember when O.J. Simpson put those gloves on and said, if the glove doesn't fit, you can't convict me. I can't convict you if the shoe doesn't fit. But lots of you, the shoes does fit. So therefore, the good old boys and the powers that be, those people that we put into office, those corrupting leaders that we put into office, and that's not true of all of them, ladies and gentlemen, going back to it if the shoe doesn't fit. But at the same time, they knew that when they closed Jackson Central Mary, Whitehall School in our community, West Middle School, East Elementary Schools, and now they're thinking about closing Lincoln School, which is in our community, Alexander, which is on the elementary school, which is on the borderline. Then all of our black children will have to go to their schools. So if integration is supposed to help us to integrate with each other, someone tell me why in the hell that the white community is not open to integration, and this is 2017. Wake up. You're too busy shaking hands and grinning and scratching and itching while you're not even itching and scratching. So, ladies and gentlemen, this doesn't make any sense. But there are people while we're sitting in church and raising our hands and praising and shaking and falling out on the floor and speaking in tongues and everything, and all of that has its place. But ladies and gentlemen, it's what happens after the benediction. So it's a wonderful thing to go to church. I was in church yesterday myself. But what God is looking at what will Meriwether do when we say the benediction? What would he do Monday through Sunday? That's what's important. Not so much as wearing your fine clothes and driving your cars up on the parking lot and speaking and shaking hands and all of that. What will you do for the least of thee? Because God says you're doing it unto me. So let me complete this article. It says most communities are built around schools. Mary, West, East, and Stegall High are all gone. Somewhere the definition of equality and integration became twisted during the civil rights movement, and black kids have been trying to untie the knot ever since. Some would say that black kids didn't become disciplinary problems until they start going to school with white kids. Regardless, what integration left us with are black neighborhoods disjointed and often disfranchised. That article was written by Mr. James Cherry. Ladies and gentlemen, on this coming Friday, schools will open up in our community. Here's what I would like for someone to text, tweet, email, call, run into me. Tell me what the hell is going on, because this doesn't make much sense. Now, in my local paper and in your local paper and all across this country, as we get ready to head back to school, there were advertisements about getting school supplies for your children. And yes, they do need school supplies. But now, watch this. Now, these are some of our educated leaders in our community and in your community, and some of your spiritual, faith-based community peoples, your sororities, your organization, your Code Reds, your NAACP, your 100 Black Men's. This is in your community. Now, someone let me know this. We spend a great deal of time. Most of the churches who could afford it and some who couldn't afford it had back-to-school events at their church where they passed out school supplies, backpacks, and what have you. And some of the people in my community, in your community, who doesn't look like me, wanted to try to play with God and say, well, look, we're giving the colored people, we're giving the black people, we're giving the African Americans, whatever term you want to use. I believe that the proper term is black. We want to give to the black kids so they'll have school supplies and things that they can do their work. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't make any sense. Why give Pee Wee and Bubba a backpack at the same time he's not entitled to quality education? Give him a pencil to write, and he has nothing to write down because you're not giving him the proper education. It just doesn't make sense. You give him scissors, and he ought to be cutting the hell out of the things that are in jest in the community. He's headed back to school with composition books, and he got nothing to put in it. Ladies and gentlemen, just looking at this is a Target, and they got some of the most prettiest backpack that you can get. But what good is a backpack if the teacher doesn't give a darn, the teacher doesn't care about me, and the teacher's not teaching me like Megan is being taught in her school? So, ladies and gentlemen, someone tell me why that we had events at a large percentage of our black churches in our communities, and there was no mention of a rally. Why didn't we have rallies where we prepare the mind, put hope into the minds of students, let them know about behavior and discipline, what we expect? We didn't talk about expectations. But ladies and gentlemen, this morning I received a call, and certainly I'm not boasting and bragging. I just do everything that I do. I try to do it for the benefit of and the glory of the Lord. But I received a phone call this morning from my goddaughter, and she was asking me that if I could come over Thursday and meet with her daughters and sit down and talk with her before she heads back to school. That she wanted to make sure her daughter had a successful school year. And she said, I know that you genuinely care about children, and I know what you have meant in my life, and I want you to expand upon the importance of education, importance of my child learning, the importance of my child listening and obeying the teacher, and the importance of her having a successful year. And so she even specified and made sure that adequate time was made. And she said, I do want you to speak to her for an hour. Now, I don't know why she picked an hour, but she said, I want you to speak to my child for an hour. And I said, well, I would be very glad to do it. Where would you like to do it? And her response is, let's do it over to grandmama's house. She wants to make sure that while she's working and the child is coming home to grandmama until she's picked up, that she and grandmama and friends would be there to share in this pep talk as her daughter get ready to go back to school. So I want to say to Shantae, my goddaughter, I commend you. I'm so proud of you. I love you very much, and I think you're doing a fantastic job with your daughter. But my question is this to the others that are listening to this broadcast: who the hell have you got to talk to your child? Are you talking to him? I've asked many students, because that's one reason that the powers that be said, don't let Meriwether near your child. He'll try to motivate him and make something out of him. My question is, I've asked them, well, did mom and daddy talk to you and sit down and have a talk with you, along with grandmama and uncle and aunts, about their expectation of you this school year and what they would like for you to do? And no mention of that. Well, did you get your paper and pencils and supplies? Oh, yeah, we went to Walmart and we get. What good is paper and pencil if the mind is empty? And so, ladies and gentlemen, that is a very sad day. My question is, ladies and gentlemen, we sit back and we allow certain things to happen. My question is, in those churches where you had Miss So-and-so and Mr. So-and-so coordinating, let's have a batch out on the parking lot and let's give away supplies. And then, of course, we had a lot of white groups that raised donations to give supplies and what have you. Why didn't someone stop and say, what about us sitting down in our family life center and sitting down in classroom and talking to our children about the importance of behaving in those schools, making sure that they get their work and set the expectations, what we are expecting from them? But that didn't happen. But they got composition, they got paper and pencils, and they got all of that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me move on to another point. Another point is what's disturbing. In my hometown, we have our historical black college, which is Lane College. It is history that and on the record that 50% of African Americans are blacks, and that's the term I prefer. Teachers in our school system came from historical black colleges. But in my hometown, ladies and gentlemen, the college that I graduated from, the president has an excellent relationship in the community. Oh man, the powers that be, they just love him, and he's well loved and what have you. But ladies and gentlemen, they had a teacher's education program, and they no longer have that program. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying to the president of the college, if the different Rotary clubs and the chambers and everything, and the school board who gave them the historical black high school that they closed for him to use, ladies and gentlemen, that was no biggie. No white organization was going to come over into East Jackson and use dilapidated, run down a school that they allowed to fall down. They give us stuff that they no longer have a use for, or circumvent our children from getting a quality education. My alma mater does not even have a teacher's education program. Ladies and gentlemen, your question is that, Mr. Merriweather, are you walking the walk because you sure can talk the talk? Listen, I called the president of Lane College, and I talked to him about having an incubator, having a boot camp, in another term, wouldn't this be a wonderful thing that right down the street from Lane College, that we would have an incubator program that would be producing some of the great minds of teachers for the future of our children. And there's not one in West Tennessee, so teachers will be coming from all over West Tennessee to participate in this program that will be producing great minds for our children. Because I'm sick and tired of not only white America saying this, but even our previous personnel manager said, "Oh, we can't find them." Oh, like black folks is like a needle in a haystack. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time to quit complaining and begin to put together some programs. So I'm walking the walk and talking the talk. I suggested that to the president of the Historical Black College because at that time, my alma mater did not have a teaching program. In fact, they once had it, and then, of course, they lost their credentials or accreditation for that particular program. So why is it that since he is such a good friends with a lot of the leadership in my hometown, why is it that they are not working with him to get that program back together? If we're going to be friends, we're going to have to be friends not only for your children, but for my children as well. And it's somehow it doesn't seem that it's that way. It's about you do all that you can to further us, and we might help you with your children. So what is the purpose of us going and receiving an education that once we graduate and get our master's and our doctoral degree and become presidents of colleges and universities and live in the community with you, why is it that our children are just as important as your children? Someone needs to ask those tough questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just had to come to you just before school's out because I don't quite get it. It would seem to me that we have revivals, we have Vacation Bible School, and we have going to the skating ring and bowling. Why is it that in my hometown, and of course there are different dates in your hometown, but on Friday morning the kids will head back to school? I have been checking the paper and watching on the television and news and talking with people. No faith-based community is having a mass come together to talk with the children before they go back to school. Why don't we come together on Thursday night because they headed to school on Friday and have a prayer with the children as they go back and talk to them in breakout groups about the importance of behaving themselves. And if Miss Jane is not teaching you, you need to let your mom know, and mom, you need to let us know that we can go to the Board of Education and meet with the superintendent and talk. We're not doing that. Then finally, ladies and gentlemen, let me say this here. I heard a lot of people, and I'm very proud of my first black male superintendent as well. I have nothing against him, and wish him well and pray for him daily. But at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, our community of people with education sit back and allow certain things to happen. What do I mean by that? The new person that will be in charge of academic, that is setting the tone for what is taught to all of the children. We're talking about, there was a big, long discussion on Reading 180. But ladies and gentlemen, the reason they want to keep me away from the school system because at least I got enough sense to know what's going on. Reading 180 never did work for our children. And so one of the board members was trying to switch it over even before the superintendent could have his first day on the job, was trying to switch it over. They understand the importance of reading. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our children graduating from high school reading on 8th grade level. And it's a known fact that if you are not on grade level by 3rd grade, you're doomed. You may graduate, but you'll never have the foundation that you would need to be successful. So they know that as long as we hire more teachers that look like us and that does not care, that don't mean that all of them don't care, because we got a lot of them that care. Keep in mind, if the shoe doesn't fit, I'm not talking to you, but if the shoe fit, hell, start walking in it. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have got to do something. This year in my hometown, the academic director is a white male. Then we have 2 more white females that are in early development. There is not one person that will be able to really affect that change in our system. Now, I'm told that the black lady, Dr. William, will be able to do that. But if you set the head of the department to be a white male and you don't have someone of equal power to direct which direction that reading and the academics will go in, then we're still doomed. So, ladies and gentlemen, just because we have an African American or a black, you pick the term you like, at the helm, unless we're going in the right direction, we might as well just had two more whites. So, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't make any sense. Also, we have the former superintendent of Brownsville, superintendent. She came over. She'll be working in academic. She doesn't look like me and you. So let me wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. I wish that the students and every child, regardless of their race, regardless of their area code, have a fantastic and successful year. But ladies and gentlemen, until we do right by God and we quit playing games with the mass of kids. But the beauty of it that I like, that the Bible that I read said, God is not marked. Whatsoever a man or woman soweth, that shall they reap. So when I look at those superintendents, I look at those board members, and I see them not being fair to all children, I'm reminded that God is not marked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall they reap. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking time with me. I hope that you're sure of this show with your friends and relatives and say that it's a time for us to be about our Father's business and make sure that all children get an education. Quit talking about gangs and violence. We didn't bring those drugs in our community. They decided way back in the 60s to introduce drug in our community. Take away their schools, do this and do that. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time for you and your organization and the faith-based community to be about the business of making sure that we're on task and we're focused on helping all children. But ladies and gentlemen, I have made a commitment to my Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ. If I have to go alone, if I have to speak alone, I will continue to speak out in my community and spread it in your community. That public education is in trouble because we got the wrong people trying to do the right thing, but they're doing the wrong thing. Ladies and gentlemen, take care.